Okay, so this class is Human Design about managing your energy. So we're going to talk about energy in terms of your energetic body, how much energy you have to go through the day, and anything that's related to energy today. Okay, and so to do that with Human Design, we have to first talk about the types. We're going to do that. First of all, I used to call myself like a health practitioner or a massage therapist, but then I became an energy worker and then a emotional processing person, and then I got into belief processing a lot. So I'm also a druid. I also do a whole bunch of other things. So and a dance teacher. So my major thing with life has been investigating how and why everything is the way it is, okay? Why do we create what we create? Because we do. We create this whole thing. So, I've been on a bunch of spiritual journeys too. So I've been to places, like I lived in a town of people who meditate for 8 years. They meditate together in domes. And I've studied with lots of different people, and and that continues forever. So I just have a basic understanding that you have in that graph of your body, mind, or whatever you want to call it, okay? You create from your soul. You have a soul. It's exactly the way it's supposed to be. It's never going to change. You are a particular essence of God, okay? In that sense, God is the one in control, not us, right? But our personality never goes away. That's the cool thing, okay? You never cease to exist, and you don't have to believe anything I'm saying also. It only matters, actually, the truth only matters when you figure it out for yourself, right? But once you do that, you can help other people. That's why I'm doing this. So your karma is the next circle there in your graph, right? So this is your soul. This is your karma. It's really like, it's a dotted line because really it's the same thing as your emotional body. I mean your mental body, excuse me. So your mental body and your karma, okay, your mental body creates your karma. So you create a cycle that goes like this. Woo, like this. Because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, right? It looks different, but it goes forward in time and space, but it's the same kind of cycle usually. And you have many different cycles you do, right? But they're all about these beliefs that we have, okay? And that's why you can change your karma when you change your beliefs. Okay, that is why learning about human design is good, because it helps you change your beliefs in some productive ways. And the other thing is that you have a certain energy system that you were born with when you came in. So that's the energy system you're looking at in your human design chart. But you can change it for the better always. Always, always. That's what we're here to do, in fact, right? You can always make everything work better. So that's what I do with belief processing. I just call it belief processing. A lot of people call it different things. The reason why I call it that is because I do I've learned 5 different systems for it. So I don't like to say that I subscribe to one person's thing. Because also I just don't like to say that. Because it's truth that I subscribe to, not one person's thing. Okay. So there's a lot of different ways of changing your beliefs. Those are belief processing. That's what I call it. And there's a lot of different people who do that. Okay. So that's something I can do with you if you want. The next body is your emotional body. I had a mentor who helped me learn how to process this, okay? And that is like, actually, because it's right next to your mental body, it's going to help you change your beliefs also, to change your emotional body. That's why, if you look at these are the most important bodies you have. If you change your beliefs, or if you actually create a nice open mind where you don't have beliefs, then you change your emotions, you change your energy, which is a lot of what we're going to talk about today, right? And then you change your physical body. Okay. A lot of people are trying to change their karma, right? By changing their physical body. Because that was like a way that everybody tried to do it for a while. It was partially because of the density of the time, too, and there weren't that many resources available to us in terms of healing. We didn't have the knowledge, and we didn't have the openness on Earth. We didn't have even like the grids on Earth have changed for healing. So anyway, that's the reason for that. So people were trying to like eat really good food and change their karma, right? It's not impossible, but it will take you probably an entire lifetime at least. Because if you're trying to change your beliefs by eating something different, right? You know in your experience that it's going to take a long time. And probably also, what you're trying to do when you do that is you're trying to change these habits we have, right? That we don't like, that we know are not good for us. So you're like, I'm just going to force myself not to eat any sugar. Okay. The problem with that is that you're going from this level, so it's just going to take a lot longer. Okay? If you go from this level out, see, once you change this stuff, it just automatically changes this. It just takes a little while. So it gets from your mental body to your emotional body in a couple days. It gets to your energy body in a couple weeks. And it gets to your physical body in a couple months. Okay? So then, your physical body changing actually, this is a little bit like different too, because with the collective body of all of humans on Earth right now is actually connected to your physical and your energy and your emotional and your mental, right? When you change your beliefs, it's going to change the collective. It's not quite like, it's not that it has to go through all these bodies in order to change the collective, but if it's gone through all of these bodies for you, it's probably also changed the collective by the time it gets to your physical body, okay? And by the time it gets to your physical body is when you're like, what? How come I just like got way better? That's awesome. It's a miracle. And it's like, well, yeah, except for that two months ago you actually changed like your beliefs for real, you know. Okay, so that's the health model I'm coming from. So that's why I always teach at the beginning, is because if you don't understand that, you can't understand what I'm even talking about usually. And so, human design is a system that was cognized by a guy named Ra Uru Hu. That's the name he gave himself later. He had a bunch of direct downloads or channeling or whatever you want to call it. I don't know exactly even what his source was. I just know that when I looked at this system with my friend, it made total sense. And the deeper you go into it, there's so much truth there, there's so much complexity. The deeper that you go into it, you find more and more of exactly how you work as an energy system, okay? It's not about your soul, okay? It's not about your soul, because it's about how you chose to come into this life with this body that you have now, and how that energy system works, right? How that energy circle, the one closer to emotions, work. So it also says a lot about your emotions, because there's a whole bunch of emotional information in there. And it says some stuff about your mind, too.
So if I just, like, this is red. This is red, and then these are like, is that gold or tan, or do we care?
We don't care about the colors.
Oh, okay.
We just care if they're open or if they're closed, okay?
Okay.
So if there's colors, then color them. And if there's,
Okay. Well, you can see if they're, see other.
Is this your chart?
No, that's his chart.
Okay. So let's use this as an example.
Okay.
Okay, so let's print out all of your guys' charts. They're going to look like this, okay? You have a crown chakra, okay? You have a mental chakra. Some of you were in class last week, so you know some of this a little bit now. You have a throat chakra. It's a little bit different than just the normal chakra system. It utilizes the Kabbalah, the 64 aspects of the I Ching, which is really cool, because they're like gates in the system instead of houses in astrology. So you have planets in different gates. Okay, so it's a little bit more specific, because there's 64 different places they can be in instead of, 12 or whatever. So here is your ego. Here is your intuition. Here are your emotions. And your sacral center, which is what we're kind of talking about today. And your root chakra, which we'll also talk about today. Okay. So, this is like they've got a little person, like a little head up here imposed, but I'm not good at drawing heads, especially not in this time frame. So, this is the thing, right? All your chakras are connected, but you have your own connections and you have your own centers. So they're not going to be the same for everybody, okay? But they say a lot about how your energy works. And if you go into this more in depth than what I'm going to do in this class, then you get even more information. Definitely. There's always more there. So I'm not going to do all the connections right now. I'm just going to give you an idea of what they're like. I'm very good at generalization here. And, okay. Here is your system, okay? All right. So this, okay. When you get a chart, you've got some that are filled in with colors, okay? Don't worry about what color they are right now. Just worry about whether they're a color or whether they're empty. If they're empty, they're white, okay? So I'm going to give you back I'm going to give you your chart, and I want everybody, once they get their chart, to color in the earth. Now there's a whole bunch of crayons there, so hopefully this is going to work. Color in the earth chakra with an earth color, okay? Give it like a black or a brown if you have that one. Okay, if it's gray on your paper instead of white, okay? When you get your chart, if you are a generator of any kind, you have this sacral center, okay? So then color this in red or orange because it's the sex chakra. It's also the chakra that you get energy from. If you don't have it, keep it white. So you're a projector, so you don't have it, so keep it white. Okay, so if you're a manifester, then you have this ego and this throat, okay? So color in the ego. Give it some kind of color like green or something, and then
red. I'm
don't
with the red, but okay.
color red because
Okay.
use the red for the sacral centers if you guys have sacral centers. You can use like any other color though if you want. I think I'm just trying to give some distinction here so we can see the differences. So the throat chakra, color it in blue if you have it, and don't color it in if you don't have it. This is the heart right here, okay? If you have the heart, color it in yellow. And if you don't have it, don't color it.
Now mine isn't total white, but I don't know, is it?
Let me see. Oh yeah, you have. Yeah, you have the heart. And this is your intuition over here. It's also
Pass
called
that
the
down to
spleen.
Joe, please.
Sure. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Color your intuition purple if you have it. And this is the emotions over here, the solar plexus. Okay. Let's see what color do we have left for emotions. Did I say green for ego? What color do you guys want to do emotions? We did blue already.
Pink.
Well,
Orange.
give it like some rainbow. Give it a rainbow actually if you have that.
Give it
Okay.
a ring.
Puke. You need some more classes with me, mister. Okay. This is your mind up here. Okay. That one should be like gray or something. And this one is your crown chakra. If you have that one, give it like pink or something like that. So I just put purple over here. Okay. All right. So your energy chakra that makes you the type that you are, like especially it makes you a generator or not a generator, is this one right here. Okay. The one that I said to do red. Because that's the one we're talking about in the most today. Alright. But you can also get energy from this. Okay, these are the two main energy centers. The root and the sacral. Okay.
Well, white, you get
Then you don't have any energy down there. Okay?
Hillary, here's for Nate.
Okay. This is you.
That's Nate.
Oh, Nate.
I haven't done me yet. I'm gonna do me now.
what color did
You're a
you
good
say
soul.
to do the ego?
Do the ego green.
Okay.
Okay. And alright, so these are the two main energy centers. You can also get energy from your ego, but it's not real energy. Okay? It's called willpower. So I'm gonna put that willpower
From where?
from your ego.
Ego.
That's like kind of an energy center, okay? You can also kind of get energy from your emotional center if you have it, and that's called an emotional high, right? So that kind of gives you energy, but it's not really grounded energy. Okay. So this energy here, if you have this one, you get it from the earth. And if you have this one, you get it from, well, it's your sacral center. It's the sex reproductive. So I'm going to put reproductive. Okay. If you don't have this one, you have a different relationship to reproduction than 70% of the population. Okay. Most of us are trying to be generators if we're not. We'll go into that in
You
a
want
second.
this sacral to be red?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Did I give orange then? Let's see.
There's no orange.
Let's. Yeah, I mean, I said purple for down here, so oh well, that's fine. So do the top one pink or something. Okay, so this top one, this crown chakra, is also kind of a source of energy, but it's not really. It's spiritual pressure. That's what it is. It's pressure to ground in some way the energy that you gained from being enlightened in a past life, and that is my personal interpretation after looking at a lot of people's life, a lot of people's charts. It's
So
my
that's if
intuition,
you have that.
which is my authority.
Yeah.
That's if you have that.
Yes, if you have that. If you don't have that, it's not a bad thing. It just means that you have an openness to God up here. In fact, see, in a lot of ways, not having centers can be a good thing. Okay? You have more openness, literally. You're more open. If you have a lot of centers, you're more closed off, probably. Okay? There are benefits and advantages to both sides. If you have a lot of centers, you have a lot of energy. Those of us who don't have a lot of centers are like floating on the energy of others. And we know it, usually, too. Because at some point in our life, we figure out that if we don't, sleep for 10 hours, then it's going to suck. This is your intuitive. It's not an energy center, okay? But it can cut out a lot of wasted time and energy, actually. If you have this, you can use it to cut out any extraneous stuff you don't need to do. And your heart is not an energy center, but it is kind of, if you have this heart center, it's kind of an authority of where you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do, where you're supposed to go. That's a flow you're supposed to be in, and that's another way of cutting out extraneous things you don't need to do, kind of like the intuitive. Where, with who, what, all that stuff. Where, who, what, and your throat is not an energy center, but if you have this throat center, it is easier to communicate. So it cuts down on some of the energy that's needed to communicate because, as they say in the Ved, the two things that take the most energy, apparently, are holding things over your head and talking. I'm not kidding. That's apparently what takes up the most energy. Okay, so this is your communication. Okay, if you have this mental center, it can be a sap on your energy actually, because your thoughts are going to go around and around and around in a circle all the time, and that is a distraction, and it's not an authority. So I'm actually going to put distraction. Okay. The benefit to having this mental center would be that you're not as subject to the collective beliefs, though, which would be a big deal, because collective beliefs right now still suck. Laughs the projectors. Okay, so these are your centers. Okay, so these centers are very responsible for how much energy you technically have. Now, it's not actually always about how much energy you have, right? It's about what you're doing with it. So let's talk about the types of people that can exist. Okay. By the way, the guy who cognized this has a lot of other weird theories that I'm not even... I don't even go into all of the stuff that he had, because to me, this is the most practical thing right now, is just using this and really looking deeply into this, because it can help people so much. So, if you have your sacral center is red, then you're a generator. Okay. You can be a normal generator. You can have a lot of different authorities as a generator, but you can be a normal generator or a manifesting generator. Okay. If you're either a generator or a manifesting generator can have a sacral authority, a emotional authority, they can have a intuitive authority, I think, but I've never seen a generator with an intuitive authority, but it's possible, possibly. And you can have, I think you can have a heart authority. That doesn't happen very often either. Okay. The mind is never an authority in human design, ever. Anything that you can think in your mind is really entertaining, but not necessarily helpful. Okay. If you are if you don't have that sacral center, you can be either, I'm going to take away the authorities because this is going to be confusing otherwise, okay? This is the people with the sacral. These are the only people that have the sacral energy center, okay? So that's a big deal in human design, whether you have that. If you don't have that, then you're either a projector, a reflector, or a manifester. Okay, this is about 70% of people, like I said. Okay, and this is about 20% projectors. So, I think they said something like, I heard like 3% before, but then that would be 8% or 7% reflectors. That wouldn't be right at all. It would be like this. It'd be more like 3% reflectors and 7% manifestors. Okay? Because you will hardly ever meet a reflector. There are a couple of famous ones, which you can kind of get a feel of what reflectors are like. I've actually met 2 of them before, but that's because I lived in a town of people meditating together. Michael Jackson was a reflector. Amma, the hugging saint, is a reflector. Okay? Reflect, and by the way, after she hugs people, apparently she goes and throws up and stuff. So that is an example of a reflector, because they don't have any energy centers of their own at all. So they're completely wrapping around whatever the person who they're in front of is. Okay? So they're completely reflecting back whatever, the crap. That's why Michael Jackson's a good performer. He was a good performer, but he knew he was going to die early. I'm not saying that all reflectors are going to die early, but to be able to be doing what he was doing, it would be very hard as a reflector. Because to be taking in all that energy and putting it back all the time in this really large, pretty much he was reflecting a large percentage of the whole country probably, and even the world, right? Because whenever he gets up on stage, then he is that representative for people. Okay. Projectors have a similar job to reflectors, but they have more of their own energy. Okay, they came in with some specific talents or specific goals or something. Okay, so they have some resources available to them. But I would say that next to reflectors, projectors are the most vulnerable in terms of energy and needing to learn about themselves to get themselves as protected and as healthy as possible. Okay, because usually projectors have a lot of health problems. I mean, I'm a projector. I've only been injured twice in my life. It's not like you have to be right. This is the second time. It's not like you have to be always sick or injured if you're a projector, okay? But I only have 3 main energy centers, okay? So when something wants to get my attention, I could physically experience that thing, usually. Like, if I have an emotional or mental issue that needs to get over, it needs to be released, then I might experience it physically also. Because my system is clearer, and it's like, there's no, sacral energy that's going to keep my body going like it's a separate machine, separate from my soul, okay? The generator has, this energy motor, and so it kind of protects them against a lot of stuff, and it's also kind of makes the body a separate machine in a certain way almost. It's like your body does this thing, you feel something else maybe. Your body wants to keep sleeping forever, right? You don't want to. Stuff like that. The root motor, okay, let's not get into that yet. Okay, manifestors. Manifestors do not have one of these centers, so they are more vulnerable than a generator in that sense. They have a clear aura. They do not just feel their own energy. They can feel other people's energy, but they're not as vulnerable as a projector or reflector, okay? They're not as vulnerable because manifestors have a closed aura, and they can actually put it down whenever they want to. So anytime that somebody is coming into the space of manifestor, it's because they created that situation. You can always stop anything just by deciding. Manifestor can decide, and it happens, okay? Most manifestors feel like they're projectors. A lot of manifestors feel like they're projectors. A lot of projectors think they should be generators. A lot of, generators want to be manifestors, okay? Everybody's trying to be somebody they're not. Manifestors think sometimes that they're very vulnerable and sensitive. It's not that you're not sensitive. You are more sensitive than a generator, right? But you have this ultimate control over things. And as a manifestor, usually there's this feeling of it's interesting, because there's this duality between victimization and control. Okay. And as a projector, we might have a little bit of that too. We might think that we can projectors really want to try to have tons of energy and do all these things physically and drive back and forth and be this crazy energy machine like a generator. We are not supposed to do that. It doesn't mean we can't do physical things. It just means we really have to take care of our body. There's no option. Otherwise, we end up in the hospital. So none of this sleeping 5 hours a night, drinking tons of coffee. No. Not gonna work. And usually, as a projector, you figure that out pretty fast too. Reflectors would be an even more extreme situation than us. So, yay, we're not reflectors. So generators, all manifesting generators are also generators, okay? They have the same strategy. Your strategy as a generator is to respond to life, okay? You have a sacral motor, you're here to get some stuff done, okay? You're here to move some stuff, maybe even physically, but not necessarily physically. If you're a manifesting generator, you have a certain, like, accelerated energy almost. Like it's even, you have even more energy in a certain way. It has to do with also having the throat center. You're a manifesting generator. Let me see your chart, Jen. Oh yeah, cool. So Jan is an extreme example of a manifesting generator though, because she has none of her own centers except for the ones that make her a manifesting generator. Those two. That's it. Okay? So she's like an archetypal manifesting generator, and everybody is going to look at her as like an example of a typical person, which is so interesting. Okay?
Because I'm so untypical.
Well, yeah, but that's why they need to see you.
Oh, okay.
That's why they need you as an example, okay? Because they can relate to you on the outside at least, right?
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, this center makes you a generator or a manifesting generator. If you're a manifesting generator, you still have a strategy to respond, but you have an ability to write some stuff down and then wait for it to show up in your environment and respond. Okay? So, there's 3 of you in here, aren't there? There's like no normal generators, just manifesting generators, right? Well, we think that you are one. But you can kind of listen and maybe figure it out just from listening. Sometimes that works. Manifesting generators are extremely active as children, usually. They can, like, do all sorts of stuff. They can go really fast. They're very, like, little motors. When they grow up, sometimes they get really blocked and get really slow. If that happens, it's because this center is blocked, or this is blocked. Usually this one. So then that means that you have to get it going again. Manifesting generators that have a lot of open space in their chart are an interesting mix, because they're still going to take in energy, thoughts, and feelings from other people, like Jan. But they have this energy, though. They have tons of energy. They're going to take in other people's thoughts and feelings. So they can amplify other people's thoughts and feelings back at them in a certain sense. Projectors are going to do it like times 10 though. Okay? Projectors take in everyone's energy around them, and they give it back to the person. They give it back to that specific person that's in front of them. Okay? Projector is like a mirror, and if you put anyone on the other end, they're going to amplify that person's issues, usually. Not always. But they're going to amplify that person's issues in order to help them. We're here for service, so we get blamed for everyone's issues, actually. And we're eternally frustrated at everyone for not growing and evolving, because we can see where their pattern can stop. We're not in that same pattern. We don't have the sacral motor doing this. Actually, this is true for manifestors too, but for projectors, we're specifically supposed to help generators. Manifestors are supposed to, like, make everything happen in the world, like, just, like, tell people what to do. And their strategy is to inform. So to tell people what they're doing so that nobody feels like, maybe she's mad at me, or what's going on here? I'm confused, you know? Or, like, manifestors sometimes get people, like, wanting to mess with them or control them. All of it can be stopped by just telling them what you're going to do. That's, like, the awesomest thing. All you have to do is to inform, right? For a projector, we have to be invited. If we get invited, then we can help the generator. If we don't get invited, we better go stay in a corner for a while, which really, really sucks. That is the worst part of being a projector, because we feel rejected a lot of the time. Because until we're invited, we're like hanging out by ourselves. Once we're invited, it's awesome. If we're invited, the person is going to listen to everything because there's some internal thing going on with that person and their guides where they're not going to invite us until they're completely ready for our help. So when they invite us, it's like this awesome environment where we can really help somebody and they really appreciate us, and we get paid, we get appreciation, we get love, we get everything we're supposed to get. If we help them before we're invited, it's like a waste of our energy, and that's what we're talking about today is energy, right? And we do not have any energy to waste. Okay, we don't have any time or energy to waste. Projectors also have time issues getting places on time because there's always something going on that's like, if, for instance, today, like I was in front of somebody doing a belief process with them, and that is the only thing I see. If I'm helping somebody, that is the only thing I see. You kind of probably relate a little bit. It's like you don't even know what's going on with yourself anymore after a while if you're sitting in front of somebody long enough. That's part of what we do for people. It's a service, but there's a thing where we're learning about ourselves through other people, and we need to continually come back to the body and check in and ground ourselves and stuff. Generators are, okay, generators quite often are going to say, I don't have any energy. And then you look at their chart and they have all this energy. Okay, that is like, it's blocked. If generators don't have any energy, they're blocked. So the answer is not more coffee. The answer is to get up early and exercise. Because once you start the generator motor going, it's going to keep going. And you're going to keep doing whatever you're doing. It's easier to keep doing whatever you're doing. That inertia is part of that reproductive sacral center. Since I said reproductive, we'll talk about sex for a second. It's not that manifestors, reflectors, and projectors are not supposed to reproduce. I'm not saying that. But we have a different relationship to that than generators do. Generators are generally the people that are like, the way that I see it from my own body mind is kind of they have this extra, it's like an extra energy field or aura that helps them do all of this, like birthing and taking care of children, all this stuff, okay? We have like less protection, and we tire out a lot faster. So it's not that we can't have children, but it's like you better be taking care of yourself, because there's no way that the kid is going to get what they need otherwise, unless you're taking care of yourself. That could be a huge challenge, actually. I've seen a lot of projector mothers that, I mean, I have a projector mother, and there was a little bit of checking out in like the early, like when there's two little toddler kids, there's like some check out because it just gets overwhelmed, like too much. A lot of times if you have a manifestor reflector project that, you know, all these types, they'll kind of run in a family. Like you'll see in a family that you and your dad are a manifestor, and then your sister and your mom are both projectors or whatever, okay? That's actually an unusual scenario because usually there's always generators in a family. But you see what I'm saying? If like Jan's son is a manifesting generator like her, but her husband is a manifestor, and actually in her case, her daughter was a generator.
Yeah.
So that can happen, okay? But a lot of times you'll see like, I think my friend thinks that her dad was a manifestor like her, and then her mom, she always thought her mom was a projector, but it's possible she was a generator and just thought she was a projector. So that happens. So, that's the thing, is if you have a projector parent, quite often there's a projector in the family somewhere. Because look at the numbers, you know. These are the two ones you're going to see the most. But I see tons of manifestors. For some reason, they come to me for readings a lot. I don't know. I get them in my class and stuff. It's awesome because manifestors have a certain amount of knowledge. That's why they're supposed to be in charge. And they just need to learn they're not a victim, that they can decide what they want. And that's usually their problem, is deciding what they want. Because if they don't know what they want, then they're not creating anything. And if they're emotional, if their authority is emotional, then they're creating from an emotional space, which is difficult.
I have a question about
Yeah.
that. It doesn't say anywhere on my chart that I'm not emotional. Where do you get that? Where is that?
Well, because it's going to say. If you're emotional, it's going to say
But where is it going to say that?
right here. That's your emotional center, and your authority is intuitive, so you're not emotional.
So it's
Your inner authority is splenic, which is also intuitive. The spleen is the intuition in human design.
so that's the one that says what if, and if it actually says you're emotional there, then that's the only way you'll know.
If you have an emotional center here,
Uh-huh.
this is filled in, then you'll know you're emotional.
Oh, I get it. That's it.
Okay.
Oh, I get it.
And then, if that's your authority, then that's even more important for you. And it would say inner authority emotional
Okay.
in that case. Yeah. Like you have no energy down here. So all your energy comes from your intuition, ego, heart, and throat. That's so interesting. So it's all like kind of in the middle. Okay. You don't have what is considered real energy in human design. But you came in obviously to use these centers in whatever you're doing. So, are you mental too? You got mental too. Okay.
Yeah.
So your mental is your distraction. If you can like get out of your head as a projector, you will have, especially in use your intuition instead of your head. That's your whole thing right there. So she's got, see, in her case, right? She's a projector, a non-energy type. That's actually how they say it. If you look it up, it's called the non-energy type. Okay, because they're trying to emphasize that you cannot stay up till 2 in the morning like generator.
I
Cannot do that.
possibly.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to work if it does happen. And I mean, the nights I have 2 days a week that I babysit a little manifesting generator who's one. No kidding. It's related to me, but still, right? He gets up at 5 in the morning. I don't usually have to get up until 6. It depends. But those days are really long, like till 6 in the afternoon, like 6 to 6. And after 2 of those days, I feel like somebody ran over me with a truck. Because it's also a 1-year-old, right? So they're like running and like trying to grab things off the wall all the time, okay? So that's when a projector needs to really watch their energy, okay? They cannot afford to eat bad food. They cannot afford to drink tons of coffee, although we want to usually. They really, really, really have to get enough sleep. Have to. It's not, yeah.
Yes.
The other thing about a projector is because they're taking in the energy of whoever is in the room. Okay, so right now you and I are taking in the energy of all these guys, which is no big deal, you know. But there's a reason, I think, sometimes for who comes to my classes and who doesn't, too. Because I don't get, as a practitioner, the clients I get are awesome people. I'm not saying they're all, like, one type or anything. They're all different. But they're not, filled with resistance. Because resistance is the most difficult quality to deal with. Especially for somebody like me. And that would take so much of my energy, you know? So, projectors have to have time by themselves every single day. Ideally, when you wake up in the morning, I think, is a great time to go outside by yourself, put your feet on the grass, get some grounding energy from the earth, especially if you don't have a root motor, and just not be around people for a little bit. Because you have to clean out your energy. You have to clean out your aura every day if you're a projector. Apparently today I've been doing it by being in the car, which is not exactly a good way to do it, right? Because you still have energy out there. You're still on the freeway and there's people, and you're going really fast. Okay, that's not a super awesome energy clean out. You need to be stationary without people. And hopefully, with healthy food and a healthy environment. it can be really detrimental for a projector to go to Disneyland for an entire day. If you go to Disneyland, you need to find a time that you can have a break away from everybody, and as much as away from everybody as you can. Okay, projectors. This is the way I deal with being a projector, and it's a little bit difficult because I have this, which means that I want to wake up when the sun comes up, actually. But see, you don't have that, so actually you should be able to sleep in, though, technically.
No, I can't.
So I try to sleep in as much as I can because otherwise you have to take a nap. Yeah, so you have to take a nap in the middle of the day then, or meditate or something. Projectors do really well with yoga too, like Tai Chi, like slow. I mean, ideally you should have some time where you're not on your feet in the day. If you are a reflector, that's amplified, and this is hardly any people, right? But they're supposed to do some kind of cleanse where they go out into the woods, like, and they're not around anybody for an entire month. I don't know how often they're supposed to be able to do that. That seems really contrary to our society. And if you're a manifestor, you're okay. You just probably feel like you don't want to be around people all the time. And that's okay. That's good because you don't have this center and you're still going to be dealing with this energy around you all the time, even though it's not running through your system the same way. You still have to deal with this energy, and it kind of makes you angry, actually, I think, as a manifestor. It kind of, like, irritates you. So you just have some time to yourself, but don't isolate yourself too much because you need to learn how to close your aura down when you need to. As a manifestor, you just need to learn how to, like, turn off when you need to. And if you don't have very many centers in your chart, then you do need more rest than the rest of us. Okay. If you're a manifesting generator or a generator, and you do not have enough energy, I had all these notes and I've just completely lost, like I've just gone right off the whole plan. But, what you need to do is unblock your energy, okay? So, like I said before, getting up early and exercising is one of the best ways of doing that. If you do,
Manifesting generators.
yeah, if you do not exercise as one of these guys, you're gonna end up blocked. I promise you. This needs exercise. This needs to be exhausted every day before it goes to sleep. And I know very few generators who exercise every day. So interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's like your body is that separate machine, so you have to give your body what it needs. And what it needs is exercise. And it needs to feel tired so they can go to sleep. Okay? And it needs a routine. Like, it needs to go to sleep kind of at the same time every night and get up at the same time every day. And it needs to not sleep in, actually, usually. Because if it sleeps in too much, it'll keep sleeping. This is a little different for, you have to look at the whole chart. If people have tons of energy centers, they need to get out and do whatever they're here to do on Earth and exercise, okay? If they don't have a lot of energy centers, they might need to find balance. They might need to rest, but also exercise. Projectors need exercise, but they need it to be like relaxing, energy-giving exercise. Like, it gives me energy to dance because I love it. Like, that kind of thing. Not like, I'm going to go run until I collapse. That's not good for us. Manifestors, I think it's really about your life goals if you're a manifestor. I think it's really about, what you intuitively know is your reason for being here. Yeah. Okay. So just don't exhaust yourself is all. Reflectors that I don't think they get to do anything more than like yoga and Tai Chi. I don't know. I mean, Michael Jackson was a dancer, right? But I'm sure that he knew his limits, though. Okay. So. All right. We went over this center and what that makes you here, okay? If you have this root chakra, that means you're getting energy from the earth, meaning it comes in this adrenaline form. Like now you don't have the root chakra. It's so funny because I have this one, and most people who don't have it are the ones who can't sleep in. Because it's always exactly the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing, right? Like, you guys are supposed to sleep in, probably. I'm not supposed to sleep in, but I do. Because I'm a projector, and I need the extra sleep, and maybe this is helping me sleep in. Because maybe our connection to the earth makes things a little bit more calm in a certain sense. A little bit more centered. So it's easier to sleep in, and that's like a good balance for me as a projector to have this. But it also is a challenge because it gives me energy sometimes, like in an adrenaline way, like through the kidneys, like that kind of like, whoo, like when the sun comes up kind of feeling. Okay, that energy is temporary. It's not a sustained endurance energy. It's really good for like fight or flight, or if you're doing a show, like I do performances, you know, or teaching a class like this. It's not very good for a sustained exertion. Okay, so I've had to learn that that's how I work. I have had to learn that I have to do little stints of putting out tons of energy and then long rests. And that's actually how I've done a lot of my dance career, for instance. I've always done like a really big show, but it doesn't run for very long. And then I rest for like a couple weeks afterwards. Like, in fact, even a week later, usually I'm still exhausted. And a couple days later was when my manifestor friend would come and tell me to get in her car, and then she'd take me to the coffee shop, and we'd just sit there for 5 hours. It was very fun and rejuvenating because we were just sitting. So this center is really interesting because it's a connection to the earth, and you have a certain available earth energy from that. Okay, the earth has its own energy, right? You have an ability to go with the like you know what season it is, you know what time of the day it is if you have this. Okay, you know, like for instance, this is kind of superficial, but I really like seasonal foods. Okay, because I feel the season. Like I feel fall coming now, and I can like taste the pumpkin and everything. Okay, and that's nice. I enjoy. That's like a spiritual thing for me. Okay. These two centers, though, this earth and this spiritual one, are both centers of pressure. And if you have both of them, you have an intense feeling of pressure because there's like something coming in from up here and down here, and it's like pressure cooker. If you're one of those people, then you need to learn how to like go slow and steady, right? If you have both those centers, this would be, this is not a normal situation. Most of you guys probably don't have it, but if you have those, you have to kind of like go at a pace, same even pace. For instance, my musician friend is a manifesting generator. He has all of these except for this one, so he's not supposed to take credit because that's his ego. He's a musician, okay? And he has these two. That means he's like constantly like going and like he's thinking and he's ADD kind of, okay? Because manifesting generators are quite often ones that are diagnosed ADD actually, but not all of them are that pressured like that, right? Because they don't all have these two. And those two, I mean, all the manifesting generators I've met love to chill out. They love to chill out. And I think there's something to having all that energy and either it being like an escape to chill out from your own body, or it's actually like learning how to manage that energy. I don't know. There's either a balance going on there or there's some kind of avoidance of balance. Okay, so if you, so I said that if you had these two, okay. If you have these two, you have a lot of this lower chakra energy, okay? If you have these two, you really have to exercise. And you need to do work for people. Like, if you're a generator, you have this center, working for other people is going to make you feel good, actually, because it's going to use your energy, but in a way where you get to respond, which is your strategy, instead of, like, creating everything, which actually will take a lot of energy from you. If you're going against your strategy for anyone, it's going to take way more energy. So this whole system, basically, is about energy and having more energy. So if you're a projector, you need to be invited. That's going to give you a lot more energy. Like, it gives me energy to go and be with a client who invited me. It's so, like, fun. It's awesome. But if somebody doesn't invite me and I try to help them, it's just it will actually physically exhaust me.
It falls flat.
Yeah. Well, there's that too.
Like
If it falls flat, that's actually because you're being helped out by your guides. And then it's like, they're like, no, you don't need to do that anymore. Okay,
So what gives the manifestor energy?
so this willpower actually is where your energy, where a lot of it comes from. Do you have these? Do you have this one?
I don't know either of those.
Okay. So as a manifestor, you still have to look at your centers. Okay. Are you emotional? Okay. So you have ego,
Yeah, willpower,
authority.
heart, and throat.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. Okay, so you're very clear, you're very open, you're very clear about what you're supposed to be doing. Probably.
Okay.
Nobody told you, right?
But the awesome thing is you're not distracted by energy. Like, if you have this lower earth one, you're like, I need to do stuff right now. Okay, that's how you feel all the time. The people who have that often tell the people who don't have it that they need to do stuff too. Okay? I have this one, right? I'm going to give you an example. I had a boyfriend who was a generator and did not have this one. Okay, I'm a projector, but I have this one. This is an interesting situation, right? Because he's the one who actually has the energy to do physical labor, to make things happen, even. Like, to magnetize other people to him. Because generators, their sacral center will magnetize other generators to them. And that's actually awesome. That's like, there's a warm, fuzzy aura thing, there's a connection, and then there's like a job or all these things, that come from that. For a projector and a manifestor, we both seem cold to the generators. And they're like, I don't know how to assess you, And we don't get as many opportunities right away. But if we wait for the invitation, we're going to get the awesomest opportunity, though. And if manifestors inform people of what they want, people are going to organize to make it happen, which is actually awesome. I've watched it happen. My manifestor friends are the only ones that I'll let them tell me what to do. Because I can just feel that it's appropriate. Like, it's fine. It's fine with me. It doesn't bother me. And my manifestor friend will tell me, get in the car or whatever, and I'll be like, okay, get in the car. And by doing that, she's making whatever she wants to happen, by just telling me, Because people will do it if you tell them. As a manifestor. So that's one of the sources of energy, is to tell people what to do. Inform. Okay? The other source of energy for manifestors is to decide what you want first, like by journaling or writing something, maybe, because this is a communication center and it helps you be a good writer usually. This willpower will make it happen. If you decide that you want something to happen, then it's going to happen. Be careful not to exhaust yourself, though, with willpower, because I do know manifestors who've gone into the hospital from, like, I'm going to make this is good, what's going to happen. Like, it's good to decide what you want, it's good to tell people what to do, it's good to inform, but don't get so attached to it that you're, like, bleeding yourself or something, okay? Okay, so, all right. So the Earth is that connection to the seasons and time, and it will actually save us all energy if we have a root motor to try to go with time instead of against it. And this is something I'm still learning how to do that. Okay. But also as a projector with a root motor, it's like a conundrum because you're gonna have this like need for energy, but a need to stay on some kind of schedule too. It's weird. If I'm in front of somebody, I'm going to help them, no matter how long it takes, but I'm supposed to stay on some kind of schedule. Doesn't make any sense. It's a contradiction. These are the contradictions we're working out in our life. These are the paradoxes that we're learning, right? If you're a generator without one of these, then you might want to just sit on the couch all the time. But you're supposed to be using this. You're supposed to use this, okay? But you're supposed to use this without being on a schedule.
And we're the ones on this schedule.
That's the conundrum for you. That's the paradox, right?
Mhm.
Is like, you're not supposed to put yourself on the schedule that other people have if you don't have this root motor. You're supposed to be open to your own creative process and your own way of doing things. And if you don't have this, you don't have that earth backing you up. You're kind of floating a little bit, and there's a feeling of like creating things out of thin air, kind of. So you can't like put deadlines on yourself or have other people put them on you. Actually, we don't have this. If you have this, like me, and like if I put a deadline on myself by saying I'm going to teach a class, so I'll have to prepare for it by then, or I'm going to do a show, so I'll have to have this particular thing done by then, or I'm going to offer this service, or I'm going to put something up on my website. You know, there's a bunch of things that I could do to create a deadline for myself as a person with one of these, and I would do that if I wanted to get myself to get something done by that time, okay? I'd have to be careful because I'm a projector, so I don't really have the energy to do a lot of things. So I'd have to be like careful about the deadline I put on myself. But the deadline's still going to help it happen. It'll happen if I put the deadline on there. Okay? As a projector with a root motor, I would have to just focus on that thing probably. Just have to focus on that thing until the deadline and then focus on something else with a different deadline. When you don't have this one, you can't do deadlines, so you have to be open to your own thing, and you can't, as soon as you put a deadline on it, it collapses the whole thing. Okay, like I have a manifestor friend who writes lyrics, and she likes to create things. She's creating a rock opera even, but she couldn't put a deadline on it, because as soon as her husband, who had this one and this one, started pressuring her to put a deadline on it, she was like, oh no, it'll just completely fall apart. It won't even happen then if you do that. Okay, so these are ways of conserving our energy. Okay, if you have these, you need to exercise. Especially if you have this one, you need to exercise, and you need to make sure your body gets what it needs, like routine-wise, and tire it out. Right? If you are a manifestor, reflector, projector, since you don't have this, you probably need to be even more careful about what you eat. Probably you already know that too, because you're just more tuned in to the fact that, you're tuned in to the clarity of like what is good to eat and what's not. So you don't have the distraction of sacral energy that's going like this. The sacral energy makes the generators do the same thing over and over and over again. The problem with that is that sometimes that's a waste of energy to do the same thing over and over and over again. And that's what projectors are good at helping generators with, is how to like help them stop that pattern. In fact, that's what I'm even teaching you guys about right now. Is how to stop patterns, right? But that's why projectors can help generators. But the generator is just going to have that's kind of part of their whole life, is their body has this energy pattern, and it's going to do that. And if they can start directing it in a good direction, then that's good. But there's going to be that kind of like cycle all the time. So you have to exhaust yourself in a certain sense, and that means like, for instance, I'm going to use Jan again as an example.
That's fine.
She's the example person in her chart. So Jan knows she has a kind of an addictive personality, especially as a manifesting generator. There's manifesting generators. There's a little bit of an addictive like thing there. So there's a pattern that goes. That's the addiction thing, kind of the habit. So now she gives herself like really good books to read and stuff. Okay, so that she's like doing those addictively instead of doing something that's bad for her. See what I'm saying? The only problem with manifesting generators is that they will collect lots of information and not always do anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they
Okay.
love information. In fact, that's why they're more open to projectors. They'll notice projectors and invite them more often. Manifesting generators will, because they can see that the projectors have information. And they love information, but they need to actually practically use it in their life, like ground it, like put it in their routine. You know, instead of like do a practice every day, the same thing every day, whatever it is, instead of like just collecting all these different techniques and ideas and like, you know.
Is that manifesting generators?
Yeah.
Or is that manifestors and generators?
That's
Yes.
manifesting generators I'm talking about.
The
Manifesting generators.
Yeah.
Yeah, generators are not going to be quite so fascinated with ideas. Generators have to go A, B, C, D, E. They have to go through all the steps. They know that they have to. So they do not like new things. Because they know that they will have to completely go thoroughly through the whole thing. Okay? That being said, once a generator starts doing A, they're going to do B, C, D, E too. Manifesting generators will sometimes short out or like jump ship or skip around. There's a good thing to that because they're flexible, and flexibility is good, right? But there's also a problem with that because sometimes they don't finish what they're doing. Right.
That's why you have lots of projects.
And that's why projectors can really help, actually, because projectors easily can tell usually what the manifesting generator needs to do. Like, oh, you skipped step D, you need to go back to step D and do that, you know. That's why they can be good friends, because if the manifesting generator recognizes the projector and invites them, then it can actually be a good, you know, they really can help each other.
Ooh, can I just ask?
Yeah.
Just because you mentioned the connection.
Yeah.
So is there, what am I trying to say? Like a couple, is there
Oh,
a
yeah.
manifestor going with it? Is there
Yeah,
a
yeah. I mean,
mix?
people in human design world say one thing. I don't say some of the stuff they say because I don't believe it. I don't think, like, they say that projectors are supposed to be with other projectors. I don't think that's really true, actually. I think if a generator is open and invites a projector and really appreciates them and recognizes them, then that could be a really good relationship because projectors are here to help generators. And there's a whole give and take there where they're good at different things. Generators are good at, like, doing physical things projectors are not good at. Okay, so there's a symbiotic relationship there. Manifestors are often with manifesting generators, actually.
That's how we
I don't know why. I think they recognize the manifesting quality in each other. I think there's like some attraction on that level of that they can both kind of decide. There's a deciding factor. The manifesting generator has to write down what they want and then wait and respond to it coming up in the environment. Okay, they're more of the physical like workforce, to be very blunt about it. The manifestor is probably not going to be able to do some of the things that the manifest generator can do physically. But the manifestor has like a protective quality to them too. They have that aura that can shut down, right? The manifest generator can jump in there and be protected too.
Right.
Yeah. And I've seen that with a couple different couples actually. It's not true that you have to be. It doesn't mean you have to. That's who you have to be with. It's just, you know, if you're a reflector, you got to be really careful about who you're with, at all. If you're a manifestor, you probably get really tired and frustrated with generators especially normal generators. Not always. It could happen. Manifestors quite often like projectors. That could be a good coupling, but there's still no sacral energy there. So there would have to be some. I do know a projector manifestor couple, and they've got some money issues. And I'm not saying that you have to have money issues as a couple like that, but you see how there's a lack of sacral energy to do. Often we equate in our heads, belief-wise, doing with money. It's not that it has to be that way at all. Manifestors know how to manifest money actually really easily. In that particular couple I'm thinking about, it's probably the manifestor's fault actually. They don't have any money because he's not working anymore, and that's okay. He's not working anymore. He's retired, and he's a manifestor. He doesn't have like sacral energy, but he could manifest the money by deciding and changing his beliefs. Manifestors, so much power up here. If they can change their beliefs, then it's all golden. That's why they're often the ones that are into like esoteric healing stuff, actually. Projectors learn by having bad experiences, usually. Projectors try to be generators until they like get really sick, and then they're like, okay, and you just figure out how to change that, right? So projectors are quite often into healing, esoteric healing things too, but that's because of survival. Manifestors are into it because they figured out that they could have what they want if they really get, everything cleared up, like emotionally and belief-wise. So I'm not going to talk too much about couples, because couples is like, it's a whole class on its own. But couples, I just think that anybody can be with anybody else if they really appreciate the person and what they can do and what they can't do.
Mhm.
Like, me appreciating my own limitations was really important for me, actually. Like saying, oh, this is why I can't do this. Because I'm a projector with 3 energy centers, and I need to stop thinking that I can do these things. Okay? It doesn't mean I can't do some awesome physical thing. I'm a dancer, and I still try. I'm still going to keep trying. But I do it with managing my energy, though. Okay? I don't go in to the dance studio thinking I'm going to do some crazy, crazy jump on 5 hours of sleep. Okay? Because if I do that, I will injure myself. And, so that's an interesting thing, too. Generators, actually, in terms of longevity, probably need to manage their energy more than everyone else, because they have energy to manage. If you want to live a long life as a generator, you need to start exercising.
Are you saying that for my benefit?
No, I'm actually
She
just...
says it all the time.
No, this is just...
I'm just teasing you.
It's just the truth as I know it, that's all.
I know.
And be on a routine,
Yeah.
and make sure that, like, if you don't have a ton of your own energy centers, that you get enough rest. Yeah, and manage your strategy and everything too. The not self theme is a good point. Okay, if you're not self theme, it depends on your type. So if you're a manifestor, don't worry, I'm gonna explain it. If you're a manifestor, anger is your not self theme. So every time you're angry, you're just wasting energy. If you're a projector, bitterness is your not self theme. So every time we're bitter, sarcastic, cynical, any of that stuff, that's wasting energy, actually.
Maybe that one's good.
It's a little bit different for projectors, though. It's a little bit different, because I feel like what happens is projectors actually expend all their energy, and then they go into bitterness. Like, it's a result of expending our energy. So we need to learn not to expend our energy and to stay in our heart, so we can stay sincere. Because otherwise we're like, And that biting cynicism, man, I just experienced that from another projector recently, and it was just a reflection of my own, And it was like, whoa, I don't want that in my life like that, I mean, you gotta feel your feelings, everybody, because that is a way of having energy. If you avoid your feelings, you are actually sapping energy from yourself, right? But
makes a big difference.
you don't, by feeling them, you actually transcend them, you stop creating that environment in your life all the time. So, like, if you're a generator, for instance, and you go to, like, this projector guru that I went to the other weekend, okay, you're going to get your own feelings up in your face, probably. If you go see a projector healer, you're going to get your own feelings up in your face if you're not feeling them, because you're going to a projector, and that's what they do. Projectors have to stop blaming themselves for things and start releasing all their guilt, because that's actually sapping energy from us. Our strategy, our not self-themes. So if you're a generator, your not self-theme is frustration. Every time you're in frustration, you're wasting energy. If it's like an emotion, like anger or something, if it's an emotion like irritation you need to express, that's fine. But if you're like just in a pattern of being frustrated, that's just a waste of energy. You know what I'm saying? It's different. Like, so, and a reflector, I don't even know what a reflector's not self-themeless, actually. I'm not even sure they have one. Okay.
What are the split definitions?
If you're a split definition, it means you have more than one personality. If you're a single definition, you have one personality. If you're triple split, you have 3 personalities. That can be really difficult. Because then you're only in one of your circuits at a time, so you only think you have a certain amount of energy, and you actually have way more than you think you have usually. You're triple split. None of it's bad, none of it's good. It's just you gotta learn how to deal with your own energy system, right? If you're split, most likely one of the splits is that you're up in your head. Like, hers is split, right? And you have the center up in your
It's my
head.
sister.
Oh, okay. Well, anytime you have a mental definition and there's a split, usually, if one of your personalities is your mental, which probably it always is actually, you need to just come out of your head because you're wasting energy by being up in your head. If you have the mental center, it's just a distraction. So there's all these ways of wasting energy, right? It's not just about like our body, really, right? If we can use our intuition, for instance, to avoid wasting energy. Like, for those of us who are projectors and our intuition is our authority, we have to use that because we don't have very much energy. Especially, you don't have the root either. So you have to use that intuition to decide what to do, because otherwise you're going to do a bunch of stuff you don't need to do and then be exhausted.
I just realized that I have a split definition.
Yeah. So you have to stay out of your head and stay in your intuition. Because that intuition is going to help you figure out what is useful to do and what's not. Intuition is different than emotion, right? Intuition is a neutral place that's not emotional. And it can be really hard emotionally sometimes to know something intuitively. But if you're open to the feeling and feeling the feeling like we did last week, then you're fine. Because if you feel the feeling, then you can hear the intuition clearer and you can follow it. It's so much. It just cuts out a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be in your life, usually. Being a projector, you're going to waste energy on anybody that you're around that's not worth it. So you really have to cut out people that are not worth your energy, which sounds really hardcore, but it's like, we kind of know that as projectors already. Because if you're around people, they're wasting your energy, you feel like, afterwards. You're like, yeah. If you're around people that are giving you energy, you'll feel good afterwards. Also, if you do any performing or like going to parties like around groups as a projector, you need time afterwards to just kind of zone out and be in your own sphere because you got to clean out all that energy, like even from like this class. Projectors need to lie down in bed before they even want to go to sleep. Like they need to be in bed like an hour before they want to go to sleep. Because then once they're lying on their back, it like stops all the energy that's been running through their system, and it kind of makes it easier to go to sleep. We're the ones usually have trouble sleeping, and the ones that need the most sleep. You guys generators can usually fall asleep easier, but they have the inertia factor, right? You have the inertia factor. Whatever you're doing, you want to keep doing. So if you're working, you want to keep working, and you can work into 2 o'clock in the morning and still be okay. That doesn't mean it's a good practice. Like, you should ideally be on a routine. And eventually, a manifesting generator can burn themselves out. They can, like, short circuit, especially if you don't have a lot of your own energy centers, like Jan, which only has 2. Let's see, Nate's got 3. Yeah, so you're in a similar situation to Jan, but you've got your heart center, which is so cool. The heart center. The heart center is like you came in with your own heart energy, and you're here to love people. So awesome. People without the heart center have to learn that God's love is real love. We cannot get love from people. I mean, we can get love from people. I'm not saying we can't get it. It's just we can't look for the love from people to fill the hole in our heart. We have to look for love from God. Okay. That's another way of not wasting energy. As far as the heart center, if you have the heart center, you need to go where you deep down know that you're supposed to be, with who you deep down know that you're supposed to be with, doing what you deep down know you're supposed to be doing. Okay, that is the way of not wasting energy for you, because you have that information available to you deep down. A lot of people with heart center are like, what? I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I'm like, yeah, but let's talk about it, because they do kind of, though. They do. It's just, it's a feeling, and there's a flow, okay? And you put yourself in the flow. And part of it is loving people, too, because they are supposed to tell people without the heart center that they're loved. So, this is a classic male-female situation, too, because if you have a girlfriend who doesn't have this, then she's going to be like, you don't love me, you don't love me, you know, she's going to always say that. And you have to say, because you have the heart center, you have to say, I love you. You have to, and you don't want to do it. But it's... because you have that, like, extra energy in your heart. It's got to go somewhere, you know? That's the thing about energy centers, right? Is you got to use the energy that you've got. You got to use it. And if you don't have it, then it's a place of, like, universal knowledge to come through, or a collective beliefs to come through, actually, also. And you can get a lot out of that. But if you have a lot of open centers, you're here to help the earth, probably. You're probably helping by absorbing things, and also by just being here. Reflecting, absorbing. If you're a projector, you're multiplying, distorting, reflecting, and amplifying energy. It's kind of an exhausting process. So, yeah. So when people say to you as a projector, oh, but why can't you get up at 6 in the morning and work until, you know, it's like, you just, the only way I found is to explain this to them. Or to just, like, not care what they think and just do what I need to do. Because there's no point in trying to be like a generator. It's not going to work. So if you have energy here, you got to move some physical objects. If you've got energy here, you need probably to work with time and also use your body in some way. And if you've got energy here, you need to use your emotional energy. Okay? Your emotional energy is that there's a high, there's a low, there's a cycle. It's always going on. It comes from the moon. Did a class on it last week, right? By the way, I just learned something new about this. If you have this center, you're doubly emotionally distracted because you actually have emotions coming from the moon all the time, and you have your own emotions in your body mind that everybody has. So people use that as an excuse not to feel their feelings. That's the worst thing you can do. The most important thing, if you're emotional, is to say, I feel this feeling right now. And I'm also going to work on the feelings that are in my bodily system to release them so that I do not have to be sick and not have energy and stuff. This can block your energy if you're not doing, if you're not using. And this emotional energy, guys, you could make awesome art with it. You could do a lot of things with it. Because it makes you more passionate, you know? So there's a certain quality of that. Also, it makes people love, there's certain things that emotional people can do that other people can't, right? You could really do like an emotional performance that other people really get a big hit off of, okay? Or you could do something even just one-on-one with people where you're using those feelings, even like a therapeutic situation. Okay, if you got the willpower, then you got to use it, but that's tricky, right? You don't want to use it to the detriment of the rest of your physical system is all. But if you got willpower, you got to use it, because there is like a certain energy that comes from that. Like you get more energy in a certain way by deciding, I'm going to make this happen, you know? It's like the universe kind of comes in to help you a little bit. Okay, but if you don't have it, don't do that. If you don't have it, you also can't take credit for what you do. You have to give it away to other people, or to the bigger collective, to God, to a good cause, something like that. It's annoying, but you have to. If you have this, you have to take credit. Otherwise, you're sapping your own energy. That actually, I've noticed in my own life. I have this center, and I was not taking credit for things enough. I was not charging enough for my services. I was not putting my name and my picture on things. When I started doing that, the more you start putting your name and your picture on things, taking credit for things, saying, yes, this is mine, the more energy you actually get, because people recognize that then. They recognize you have integrity, you get more clients, you get more people listening to you, and there's more respect. And with more respect comes more energy, actually, especially for projector. Okay, if you have the intuitive center, you got to use it, because otherwise you are not using information that can cut out things you don't need, and can lead you to the right thing, can lead you to the right thing that you need to do with your life, right? If you have the heart center, we talked about that. You need to use it because you need to go with the flow that is there in love. You are connected to the universal love. And you can go with that flow. And you got to use it. You got to tell people that you love them. You got to just put love out there, generally speaking, you know? If you have that heart center, you probably have abilities to do energy work on people, and you got to use it. Just be careful, because anybody who's got any of these upper centers and doesn't have the lower ones, you can always exhaust yourself, okay? So if you don't have these lower ones, and you're using the willpower, or you're using the heart, or you're using the intuition, you're using the emotions, especially, let's look at this would be a good example. You're on an emotional high, so you think you have tons of energy, but you don't have these two centers, okay? If you're on an emotional high, so you've got to use that emotional energy, but you really should not be using the emotional energy to, like, move furniture, probably, because you don't have these two things, and you're going to end up in a situation that's going to, like, hurt you, probably. Because emotional highs, right? Emotional high makes you think you can do anything, right? So that's a good thing, but just don't, like, go with it if you don't have the lower chakras, right? Is always the grounding, like, rooting. It's always, if you've got anything down there, then you can back stuff up, right? Back stuff up physically. Okay. If you have the communication center, you have to do something with it, guys. You have to write or speak publicly or do something. Jan actually does do a lot of speaking about stuff with my services and everything too, because she had such a good experience with them. She uses her exampleness, and uses her communication center. She should also probably be writing something, like how we signed up for that book class.
Yes.
And if you don't have this center, you have to be careful what you say, because it can exhaust you. Like, I don't don't have this center, so I never come up with the right words. I'm always like trying to find the right word for something, or I'm standing here going or like or you know, and it's just something I'm having to work through because I don't have energy in that center. So I am going to speak for the group also. I'm only going to be able to speak in a sense that collective consciousness is going to let me. It's a little bit tricky. So I'm going to sound a lot less wise than I am, probably, in fact, because I don't have the ability to sound so much different than collective consciousness, right? If you have this, though, you have your own voice, you've got to use it, because otherwise you're going to sap your energy by being blocked up here. You got to journal, you got to do some kind of speaking. If you've got this one, you got the mental center, you need a career where you can use your mental center, okay? Because then you can exhaust that motor up there, that puzzle solver. You've got a puzzle solver. And if you try to use that in decisions with your personal life, it's going to destroy you. So don't do that. If you have this, use it in a career situation where you just are putting pieces together up there, you know? Because otherwise it's not going to help with anything. Like, you came into this life to use this in your career, probably, if you have it. If you have this one, then you have to use your spiritual energy in your career. My good example is my boyfriend's a therapist, and he has that one. So he's going to use that spirit. He's going to ground that spiritual energy through to that person that he's helping. Okay. If you've got that, you've got to ground that energy somehow, that spiritual energy, into either the earth, your body, your feelings, your relationships. Somehow you've got to bring that down here in this realm instead of keeping it up here where it's all etheric. Okay, that's why a lot of people who have this, I have 2 other friends who have this one. I have a lot of people around me who have this one, actually. And this one of them is going to be a therapist. She doesn't want to do any kind of spiritual practice. She doesn't care about spiritual. It's very interesting, okay? She feels like she's, you know, I think that they just feel like they have a certain energy up there, so they're going to use it. I have another friend who has this, and she wants to create sustainable communities. So she's going to use, like, she's going to create green energy and green things. And that's the way she's going to utilize her spiritual energy instead of, like, going on a spiritual quest for enlightenment or something, okay? It doesn't mean that these people won't be enlightened again in this lifetime. It just means that they're doing it in a more practical kind of way this life. My boyfriend's engaged in a more, like, pursuit of feeling this life than probably what he did whatever lifetime before to get enlightened. So, that's kind of cool. Okay. Anybody have questions about those centers?
So when you were first starting this, you were saying which ones were energy centers. So, do I have
That's a
this
good thing
correct?
to go over again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I wasn't sure, and I didn't
So-
know my chart yet, so I couldn't.
So
write
this lower center, these 2 lower centers are the real energy centers. Okay? You have as much energy physically as you have the centers there. Okay? These other places can be so-called energy centers of a certain kind of energy that's not going to be quite as physical. For instance, the emotional is considered an energy center. But that's obviously not going to be as physical of an energy. Because if you're not an emotional high, you're going to go down in an emotional low in a couple days. And then, and it's just not a reliable source of energy. But it is considered an energy center, and so is the will. The willpower is also considered an energy center, but only to the extent that you decide something's going to happen, and you're going to make it happen. It's not as physical, though. It's not as physical of an energy. Does everybody get that? I just described also to you how you can get energy out of these other centers, actually. Like, you can get energy out of your mind by not entertaining it so much. Like, you can get energy out of your mind by using your mind every day and then taking it lightly. Not taking it seriously. You can get energy out of your spiritual, if you've got energy there, by bringing everything down from the head down here. Heart, you get energy from loving, because love is a sea. There's a sea of love around us. So if you have that energy, then you can ignite it and start it going. But it's not going to be as physical, right? So a lot of us only have one of these two, actually. Not everybody. I mean, my little 1-year-old nephew has both of these.
Oh.
And he's a manifesting generator, so you can see how tired I am. It's like, okay, so he has this one, thank God, because that's going to save him. Okay? Because, well, I'm just saying, he has these two, and this, because that's what makes you manifest generator. You have to have this one, okay? So he's going to be a good speaker, probably. He's going to have tons of energy, and the kid is already, like, moving furniture, already, okay? If you put stuff in his pen, he's throwing it this way, and he's moving it over here, and doing all this stuff. Okay, that's the natural state of being a manifest generator. If you're not that energetic, and you have these two centers in your manifesting generator, you need to unblock your energy, which means you need to get out and run, do some yoga, and get up at the same time every morning, in the morning, not in the late morning. Especially because this is going to make you have a certain amount of energy when the sun rises, if you have this. And if you go with that, you can keep having energy. Now, because I'm a projector, I don't have this one. So what happens is I'll have lots of energy at like 6 in the morning if I get up at that time. And then about 9 or so, I'm completely exhausted. That's not really that fun. But if you have this one, you can sustain it though. Okay? Because this is the one, you guys, right here. This is the energy center that you can sustain everything physically. That's why it has that whole reproductive, you can reproduce easier too.
That's the reason, huh?
Well, there's that too. I mean, there's like a fertility thing there too. Yeah. It doesn't mean that non-generators can't be fertile. It just, yeah. When projectors, for instance, are pregnant, they're going to have to be careful because they're going to take in the energy of their fetus if the fetus is not a projector. In fact, I just talked to a woman who's a generator, but her son was a projector, and she said when she was pregnant with him, she didn't even want to have him because she felt so connected to him while he was in the womb. And I was thinking, yeah, you felt connected to him because he's taking in all your energy for you while he's in the womb. And thank God I didn't have to do that because my mom was a projector. That actually was a protection actually for me. Okay.
What's the meaning behind these numbers?
All that stuff,
Some
too complicated to go into today. Design and personality in human design just means that your design is what your energy system actually does unconsciously that you don't know about. Your personality is what you know about. Your personality is what's conscious. Okay. And that's about, there's planets and degrees and gates and stuff. But planets are in what gates. Your connections, you can go home and look up your connections. Like, Nate's got a connection from his sacral center to his heart center. He wants to go home and put in his computer 46 to 29 connection, human design. And especially the website humandesign.com will come up and it will tell you what that connection means. It'll probably tell you in a weird esoteric way that's a little hard to understand because it was who channeling stuff and they just wrote it down. And it's not even written like in a writing form.
And if
But-
you have just a broken one, like it's half filled in, half is.
Then it's not a full connection. It's not as important. It does mean something for you, but it's not as important for you as a full connection.
this is all. So
The
that's
full-
what they're also.
The half connections are kind of like you wanted to fully connect it, but you didn't get it all the way. So there's like a lesson there for you probably that you're learning. But the full connections are helping to define your whole personality. So if you look those up,
And where do you find that?
humandesign.com. And also, those are the 64 gates of the I Ching. So if you have these awesome I Ching tarot cards that I have, which are called, they're called Tao, I think Tao, and they're by Hilary Bartlett, I think, or Hilary Barrett. She made these I Ching cards, and if you get the cards, then you can start getting familiar with the qualities of the I Ching, and then you can know what these gates, what their qualities are, okay? And then you just have to you have to figure out what the qualities, the connections are between them too, because that's all online stuff. But you don't have to get this complicated with it. The most important stuff is what I taught you tonight. But you can go as complicated as you want. You can learn as much as you want about it. Okay. Especially, I made a note that none of the people in here it really applies to, but especially for non-generator men, sex is going to be dangerous energetically.
Now, what is that?
Non-generator men, because they're actually losing bodily fluids, and that's actually, physically without those physical energy centers, it's going to be a little dangerous. I'm just saying, like in terms of protecting against disease. You have to be careful in certain things. Like generators, sex actually helps exhaust them. It's actually good for them. Non-generators, it's a little tricky. Okay. Women, it's not quite. You can see how with women, they're not really losing a lot of fluid, so it's a little bit different. It's
So
not
this
quite
is
as
men.
dangerous, but it's still, women have to be careful because if you're a projector, you're taking in all of the energy of the person that you're having sex with. All of the energy. So that's like, I've actually had the physical sensation sometimes of energy escaping through my head and had to put my hand on my head. Okay? You gotta start getting more sensitive to what's happening in your energy system if you're not a generator. Because it's like imperative for your health, to kind of really understand what's happening.
So what about the manifestor?
Yeah.
In that regard.
Manifestor woman with sex, you're probably gonna be okay. You just need to be, you need to be really clear on whether you want it or not.
What about the men that are manifestors?
Same thing. They need to be really clear about whether they want it or not, because they don't have the generator motor, so their body's not a machine. It's a vehicle of their soul. You have to be all poetic about it. If you are a generator, you need to do cleanses, probably. You need cleansing foods, like greens and stuff. Because you have a certain physical strength that can be, you need cleansing things like exercise and cleansing foods and doing cleanses. Not like all the time, just you need to have some regular schedule probably of doing a cleanse physically, like once a year or something. If you're not a generator, you need to be very careful about cleansing. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It's still a good idea sometimes. You need to be very sensitive to yourself and really observe. Really observe. Because non-generators, you need to do rejuvenating stuff. You need to do rejuvenating herbs, not cleanses as much. So like in Ayurveda, that means doing rasayanas, for instance. There's certain herbs that are considered rasayanas that completely rejuvenate your system. Those are really good for non-generators. Like Chyavanprash or Amrit Kalash. That's a Ayurvedic herb that helps non-generators rejuvenate. I just have to be careful with it because it can make me gain weight too. But it's really helped me a lot. And so sensitive things are good for sensitive people too, right? Generators are not necessarily going to get the same energy hit off of essential oils and crystals and gemstones and meditation and like really subtle like flower essences or subtle herbs. Those are gonna really affect those of us who are not generators. So we can just use those. We do not need medication. Non-generators do not need like heavy medication ever. Okay? Generators might need it, but they're gonna still be moving towards these more subtle things anyway. Especially manifesting generators, actually, because they're a little bit more like open. So I'm not saying that generators can't, get energy out of a crystal. I'm just saying that these are kind of basic rules. So projectors need to look at who they're going to be around, because they're going to be cycling that energy through them. And if somebody's energy is blocked up or really nasty energy is usually due to resistance, actually. That's actually why somebody's energy is really bad. Or they just don't have any faith or trust. That's why they're resistant. So the resistance becomes black energy, right? Some people are hosting entities, you guys. Some people are hosting beings on the astral plane because they are, like the manifestors, like, I love, manifestors are always like that, people are like, yeah, oh yeah, you're right. They're hosting beings on other planes, meaning something is actually actively sucking your energy if you are addicted to something. That includes alcohol, drugs, sex, food, okay? Especially substances. If you're addicted to things, then you are going to be hosting entities, probably. Not always, but usually. The addiction is the key word, okay? It doesn't mean that if you have a drink that you're going to host entities, necessarily. But if you have to have a drink, that's a sign that you probably already have entities. And if you have addictive stuff that you're kind of cleansing out of your system, you might be cleansing out of entities also. So that's cool.
Could have been.
And you have to give yourself some extra time and rest maybe in that situation. Eating things like green vegetables, that kind of repels alcohol and drug entities, I think, because green vegetables cleanse your system and they give you life energy, so there's certain things like that, like working with your chi, Tai Chi and stuff, that can really, especially for non-generators, you gotta do some Tai Chi and yoga. Okay. But generators can do yoga in the morning when they wake up, so they get the energy to actually go exercise. Because like if you start stretching, you can kind of wake yourself up. It's really hard for generators to wake up in the morning. They don't want to usually.
I just get up for you.
It might be because you have a pretty open chart.
Oh.
That might be why. Oh, this is funny. Okay, so animals. I thought about this. Generators love dogs usually because they give positive energy, and non-generators usually need cats because they take away negative energy, especially for projectors. So I've known a lot of projectors that like cats actually because they take away their negative energy that they don't need. There's more of the elements of earth, fire, water with generators. There's more of the air and space elements with non-generators usually. It's just very general.
Airspace, who?
Air and space, non-generators. Non-generators might need more earthy, watery, or fiery foods. Especially earthy and watery. I would be careful about the fire. Generators might need more light and airy, spacey foods. Having straight up clear crystals, like quartz crystal, that's great for generators. Non-generators might need grounding rocks. Generators need to try to work a little bit more than they want to, probably. Non-generators need to try to work less than they want to. Generators need to sleep from kind of the nighttime to the early morning. Non-generators need to go with what their body wants, but also get in bed earlier than they want to go to sleep, and let themselves stay in bed longer in the morning too. Generators get energy. Oh, energy work. Generators can do energy work in a more substantial way than non-generators because they have more energy in their system of their own. The only thing is that generators who do energy work need to be careful not to use just their energy. You need to be using universal energy and God energy, and not just your own energy, because then eventually you will deplete your energy, right? But generators can actually do energy work in a more substantial way. Non-generators are going to do better energy work if they just use intentions and they're more subtle about it and not depleting their energy. Manifesting generators respond really well to getting energy work.
Yeah.
Because it stops their, they have this, that addictive cycle, and the thought, if they've got thoughts up here too, it stops all that. Generators need to follow the advice of the non-generators. I know this part is hard for generators to hear usually. The non-generators need seclusion sometimes from the generators. Because the worst is the worst case scenario is like the projector trying to get in the generator's aura and get energy off them, like suck their energy, and trying to help them when they don't want to be helped, right? The best case scenario is the projector stays over in their own energy and takes care of themselves, and then they get invited to go help somebody, and they can go in there, help them, feel awesome, and leave. We're pretty much done. Does anybody have any questions about any of that stuff?
Before I forget, is there a book that's a good reference on this stuff, or how do you go about going deeper in it?
I use the internet, actually, because the books that I've heard, my friend we studied human design for 5 years together, and my friend who has a book, she has one of those really big ones, it was somewhat helpful. I don't remember what it's called. She doesn't like any of the other books, actually. I mean, because you gotta remember, it's gonna go through the perspective of whoever it is that's, I think you want like intuitive woman take on human design, I think. Liz Gould has a website, Love Your Design. She's a great source. She's in Australia.
Goul.
Gould. It's loveyourdesign.com. And there's humandesign.com. There's Jovian Archive. That's Ra'uru's thing, though, so they'll charge you for anything almost.
Yeah.
They really,
Because to get
really
any more
figured out how to get
information
money.
is $50 on this.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. They really.
So if you were learning about this stuff, or wanted to really learn about this stuff, would you just initially go first to learn about your own type? Or is there a way to...
I would start by studying yourself, and then go out from there. And I would do a lot of stuff online, because I've come across a lot of cool things online. There's this one really good link for projectors, and I don't remember it right now. but you can become my friend on Facebook if you want, and I'll send it to you.
Oh, okay.
And it's easy, just Hillary Jordan. And you can always email me too if you want me to send you links or something. I think it's more fun to explore online, because there's a lot of people that have kind of a good perspective online, but the books seem kind of, you got to be careful about really narrow-minded human design stuff. That's all I'm saying. like whenever they give you these straight up rules for stuff, this should not happen. Then you know it's like a little limited. Okay.
Are there ever like what do you call it? Events, conferences?
There are. I stay away from Ra Uru. Who he's dead actually, but I stay away from his people. Liz Gould does classes online from Australia, and they look really exciting to me, and I would totally recommend them. Most of what I've done is study it through looking at people's charts, using my intuition, and looking stuff up online. And being like I'm on the blog I'm on Liz Gould's newsletter and stuff like that, you know. You can look at the transits all the time, human design wise. You can look up, you know, transits, human design, and get all sorts of things just like you would with astrology. So the astrological transits are affecting your human design too. It's just kind of a little bit more complex, I think, and it's kind of interesting. They go into like asteroids a lot, or there's a lot of myth involved. So, and I would really get the I Ching cards too if you're into if you want to learn about human design, because then you know the 64 gates. And then once you know the 64 gates a little bit, you can study the connections on the humandesign.com website. It's pretty. I'm sure there's some books that are good out there. I just like for some reason. Well, I was going with my manifestor friend, who's my study partner, and she kept going, no, this is what you need. Don't do books. And I just believe her because she's a manifestor. It's true.
No, he don't.
Oh yes, my love box for $10. And anybody have any other questions? No more questions. We turn off the Thanks for coming to class tonight.